Okay, y'all, this is another review of some boots that are definitely worth checking out. These are the Jim Green Stockman boot, which is a Chelsea style boot, clearly, right? And it is a made in South Africa. These I paid $176 for on Amazon, which is probably the lower end of their price range, but the price range is really great. It's only from about 150 up to about 250 for their Numzon, which is their top of the line boot, which is a really great boot. I'd love to get a pair of those too. But this is the Stockman, which is the JG or Jim Green last. They make one that's called the Outback too, that has a different sole if you don't want this sole. You can also custom order Jim Green boots, and they're not even that much more expensive. I'm really impressed with this brand. It is definitely a nice boot. And then there's the sole, and this is it's a honey sole, but I'll get to that. The Jim Green last accommodates a wider foot. It's a wider toe box, straighter toe box. They say it's ideal for people that have bunions. So that is worth considering too if you have problems with that. This is really beefy material on the side too. And it's a roomy toe box. It's probably very similar to a Munson, but maybe less of a almond shape, or not almond shape, but hourglass shape. And what's really most impressive about this boot, clearly you can see it's a stitch down. Of course, that's not fake. But the greatest thing about these, and I'll post a video that actually goes through the process so you can see how awesome it is the double lasted leather. This is a Nubuck leather, oily, so it's water resistant from the factory and easy to redo. But this is 2 layers of leather. And it is literally it's close to 4 millimeters thick. You can see right there. Inside it's a calfskin, outside it's a Nubuck leather, full grain. And there's their sizing. I'm a US 13. It's a UK 12. And they fit me, true to size. These are I'm really probably a 13 and a half, but these are fine for me. And this is a traditional style boot. I don't know if it started off in South Africa or Outback, but the lasting is actually called an Outback or South African Fieldman last. And it's double, so it's wrapped around the insole or the midsole, and then glued down, or excuse me, the inside layer, the calfskin, is wrapped around the midsole and then glued down and secured. The outside is flared out and stitched down to the midsole. So it's a really good watertight way of building a boot as well. And so that's something to consider. This piece, I was kind of wondering what this was all about, but I think it's just because the way they need to cut the forms out for the leather, they need to leave a spot here and stitch in another piece because it doesn't flex or anything. It's the same leather as the rest of it. So it's just the way that the molds are cut out for the boot. So that's important to consider. And they have a little logo in the back. It's a frog with a musket. Overall, these are really impressive boot. This sole is like a honey colored, and it does seem to be softer than the Vibram equivalent honey. Not the equivalent, the old the V100, they call it a white X sole. I have those on my logger boots, and these feel softer. But that said, it's not soft by any means. And if you're not used to wearing heritage or handmade boots, this may feel hard to you. But there's enough room to put in a nice soft insole, which is what I'd recommend. It's better to break them in first and get them molded to your foot a little bit. even though this has I think it's polyurethane, the midsole. It explains it in the video that I'll link on how they construct these, and then it's stitched through there and then glued and stitched to the sole itself. It's actually not stitched to the sole itself; it's glued. But this board is designed to mate the sole with the midsole, and so it sticks and holds and won't come apart, according to Jim Green, at least. Actually, it's not Jim Green, but I think it's the son of the. No. They bought the brand back in the day, but he's used to being called Jim Green. Anyways, these are reviewed by quite a few of the boot people on YouTube, at least other models. But this is a the double lasting it's a 100% calfskin lined, and that's what makes them really durable uppers. And then the construction of the sole to the last and all of this is actually really good quality for the price. I don't think you can get a better quality boot than this for the price. If you can, it's not going to be better. It's just going to be different, because this is about as good as it gets. I mean, you could definitely argue that the Norwegian Storm Welt, they call it the Norwegian Welt or Storm Welt, is even more rugged because they stitch through the sole on those. It's stitched through the side and then stitched down through the sole as well, normally. That's about as weatherproof as you can possibly get and rugged as you can possibly get. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see into that. It's actually too dark. There's no good light for that. But anyways, I think that covers most of the features of the boot itself. Let's put them like this so that you can see this is what it looks like when you're looking down at your boot. See, so you can see that the shape is more of a blunt toe than a lot of like almond shaped toes, but it's very comfortable. Now, one thing that I have to say about these are great. People buy them for farming and stuff that you do on flat ground. I'm going to emphasize flat ground. These are not good for hiking, because the Chelsea style, your foot can slide forward and it'll just pound your foot when you're walking downhill. It'll pound your toes against the front, unless you buy the boot way too big, which you don't want to do, because then you'll just trip over it. So that is really important to note. Of course, these will save your feet in any situation, except standing in water, because it's going to leak through right here. So even though these are basically as waterproof as you're going to get, probably 98% waterproof, and you can waterproof them over and over again with Snow Seal or whatever you want to use, but it's going to leak through this if you stand in water. If it's dripping off your water pant or your rain pants onto the boot, that's fine. It'll hold up to that. The welting's not going to leak as long as you keep that snow sealed every season or two. It depends on how often you're in the water, how often you need to do that. That's a whole nother subject. But people do complain a little bit about the finish of the Jim Greens, because they make them fast. You'll see on their videos, and you actually can see on their videos. See, that stitching is a little wonky, and you can see on their videos, even in the guy stitching on the video, he'll get some of his little seams off a little bit, because they're trying to. Right there, another example. See, this is a little wavy, the cut. It's not like a super beautiful finish, but this is, I like form. I like function over form personally. I like super rugged stuff, and that's partially because it's funny, you can see the steel lasts through there, right through the sole. And you can see the stitch down too if you look closely, right through it, which is interesting, right there. So I really like super rugged stuff that'll last, for your whole life if you take care of it. And this is a great example of this. They can be resoled. They are, it looks like a little more than a half steel shank. You know, a lot of people have never seen a shank in a boot, but that's it. That little piece of steel, it just stiffens up the boot a little bit. And let's see, the sole is genuine rubber, and it can be resoled, as I said, and it's designed for grip. And these weigh, this is size 13, so these weigh about 1.7 kilograms or 3.7 pounds. So they're also not good for hiking for that reason. Because when you're hiking, you want to get your unsprung weight on your feet down. Now, people say all kinds of stuff on the internet, and it's really hard to test the theory, but they say 1 pound on your feet is equal to 3, 5, 10 pounds on your back. But let's say it's at least equivalent to 3 pounds on your back. So if you add 1 pound to your boot, you could be carrying a 15-pound backpack. You know, if you cut the 1 pound off your boot. Actually, let's say 30, because it's 1 pound. I don't know if it's 1 pound per foot or whatever. And figuring that out is very difficult, right? That is a tough physics problem. Somebody that's a physics nerd should figure that out and make a comment if this video is ever that popular, which it probably won't be, but that's all right. I just do this for the fun of it. So anyways, and because I like really good boots and shoes. So, God, what else? Let me show you the label. That's it. So you can, that's their big version of the box. And then I don't think there's anything else in here. No, just a little Jim Green sticker. And, God, what are people going to ask me about this? It's a wider foot, roomier toe box, good for bunions, waffle style sole. The lasting you can see on the video, but the double leather, so it's double leather throughout, wrapped around. The midsole on the inside calfskin and flared out on the outside Nubuck leather. It's 2.2 millimeter braided nylon cord, and they have a thermoplastic toe puff and heel stiffener for extra support. Now, some of their other models, like the Numzon, they use all leather in that. Well, I think they don't. They still use the heel and toe thermoplastic, but they use the midsole as leather on that boot. So if you really want that, it'll form to your feet a little bit better. Doesn't hold up to water quite as well, but forms to your foot a little bit better. But on a boot like this, if you're going to wear it for working or long term, you're probably going to put an insole in it, because that just is smart. Something really comfortable. And this is, once again, is called the Stockman. And if you get the Outback, that's a different boot. It has a different last. So look into that before you buy it. I think that last is a little narrower. So this is for somebody that really likes a wide toe box or needs it. And my feet have a little extra room in these, which is another reason that they're not the greatest for hiking, because you want a more snug fit if you're going to hike. You don't want if your foot moves around, especially against the upper, you're going to get hot spots, which lead to blisters, which lead to you being slowed down at minimum, if not taken out. And that's a problem when you're hiking. The only thing worse when you're hiking is to have your shoe blow out, and that's why people spend so much money on hiking boots, because you can't walk off a mountain in bare feet. Well, I guess you could, but you would probably bleed to death before you got to the bottom. So I think that's it. And looks like the rise here is maybe, 3/4 of an inch. Not even that. No, it's like more like a quarter or a third of an inch. So maybe 8 millimeters. So anyways, or centimeters, I'm sorry. And I think that's it. And the pull loops, obviously, these are really helpful for getting it on. I really only need that one. And getting it on is not hard. So don't worry about that. But just realize that these are made for flat ground activities and not too deep of water. I think that's it. Talk to you soon.